fine. I can project, but not for that long. Hi, guys. Welcome. Again, my name's Kylie. I announced myself earlier. I am used to being interrupted, so feel free to shout at me. But let me just address a few things. If you need the toilet, it's at the back. You can turn left, take any time. Snacks will be at the end. I normally do this with a sand timer so the kids can watch how long I talk. I'll talk for about 20 to 25 minutes. If you have any questions, we can discuss them after. We all good? Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Our reading today is from Lamentations. I know, it's going to be fun. Lamentations 3, verses 22 to 26. I'm going to read from the NRSV this morning, and it says this. The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. The Lord is my portion, says my soul. Therefore, I will hope in him. The Lord is good to those who wait for him, to the soul that seeks him. It is good that one should wait quietly for the salvation of the Lord. Amen. Okay, participation required. Show of hands. Anybody ever taken part in a team building exercise by which you have to lean back and have people catch you? Anyone ever play that game? Beautiful. There's a very excited raised hand over there. Thank you, I see that. Okay, keep your hand raised if you have ever done this and been dropped. Yeah, beautiful. Good to know I'm not alone. Good to know I'm not alone. The first time it happened to me, I was 14 years old. I was in drama class. I wasn't with my friends. I can't tell you why. I don't remember who it was, but I stood there full of faith and I leant back. They didn't even try. There wasn't even like a gentle hand to help because they realized halfway through I went from this to that in a second. So when I was 16 and it came to it again, I hadn't realized how much it had affected me. And I went to a youth leaders camp and, health and safety there was a bit more relaxed. So they made us climb a wall and then fall backwards. I went, absolutely not. I can maybe stand on the ground and I'll try. And I kind of leant back a little bit and that was it. But I realized then that maybe there was something that I could never do again. And I went to university and I was studying acting and my acting coach was saying, you really want to connect with the emotion. You want to feel it. You want to make it real. And sometimes you're not really afraid of what's going on because you've done it, 2 hours ago and you'll do it again 2 hours from now, whatever. So you can sort of trick your body into a state of fight or flight. You've just got to find the physical posture and a way to trick it. And she said, for example, some people are scared of falling backwards. So if you just do this and see what happens. And I did it, and I just did it then now. But I have all of the experience of I want to run now. My heart is racing. My palms are sweaty. My throat is up here. Because when I was 14, I trusted that someone was going to catch me, and they didn't. I trusted that someone would be there and do the thing that they said they were going to do, and they didn't. Now, I don't hold that against them. I had no idea that it had stayed with me, but it's such a visceral experience that to this day, if my husband stood behind me, I couldn't lean back. I genuinely think I would freak out. I definitely couldn't do it with my dad. He'd probably drop me just for kicks. And I said this morning, but I think if Jesus was here and he was asking me, and God's asked me to do a lot in my life, I would look at him and be like, is there anything else that you want me to do, please, to prove that I trust you? Anything but that. Because I would struggle so much. And I would be genuinely surprised if there was someone in this room today who hasn't had an experience of broken trust. It might not have been as dramatic and physical as mine, but there will be things that have happened to us where we've lost trust. It's been broken in a second sometimes or over time. And it stays with us. And it doesn't just impact you in the moment, but it impacts everything after that. That was, in some way, God's goodness. But at 14, that was the first time that someone had let me down. And from that moment, it started to sow a seed of people might not be there. They might not catch me. What if I fail and I fall and I hurt myself? See, the terrible, terrible reality is that everyone and everything will fail us at some point. Not because they want to, not because they're trying to, but just because that is part of the world we live in. There is really no solid thing that we can have faith in that will say, I guarantee that I will be there and give you what it is that you think I'm going to give you. Except maybe ice cream. Ice cream always comes through for me. Every time I feel sad, ice cream makes it better. Anytime I'm having a bad day, ice cream. Good day, ice cream. Birthday, ice cream. But I can't really build my life on ice cream. I tried for a season, I'm not going to lie. It didn't end well. So thinking bigger, here's some questions for you. Can we have faith in politics? Can we have faith that our leaders will do what they say they're going to do? Great, thank you. What about global economy and stability? No, yeah, I agree with that. This is before. This one breaks my heart, but peace. The expectation, the simple expectation that people could respect the fundamental right of another person to live in peace. You would think, you would hope that that would be possible. Moving a little closer to home, our jobs, our careers, the lives that we build ourselves. I was told, go to uni. I'm the first of my family to go to university and get a degree because that would open the door. And we tell so many of our young people that. Build yourself something. Put yourself through debt all of that time. And it will happen. And at the moment we're at crisis because all of these graduates have no jobs to go to. Or very few, and they're fighting over them. Okay, so then there's people, which I think is my favorite thing to put faith in. However, this is a twofold issue. One, people fail us. There's no one that is that reliable every time. You might have some people who are really close and really good at it, but then also, two, when you are expected to be that reliable. I have friends who, if I don't answer their call, will say, you're never there for me. And I was like, no, I was just at the toilet. I just needed a minute. And that is crushing. Having to carry someone else's trust that you will always be there every time and to fill all of the things that we are able to fill. So if the outer world is unstable and our careers are unreliable and our friends and family don't fill us, where do we go? Inside. Yeah, I can do it. I am reliable. I will be here. I've got my own back. I have all of my things. Sorry, this is bringing me so much joy right now. I can't. There's a part of me that just has to acknowledge there's a lot of fun going on in that room. That just really warms my heart. Thank you, Jesus. Remind myself what I'm doing. Right, so the inner stuff. I'm going to be here. I'm going to be okay. I can trust myself. Can I ask you a question? How's your New Year's resolution going? How's your last goal? How faithful and reliable are you to yourself right now? So then, where would we stake our ground and say, this thing is faithful, this is trustworthy, this is consistent, this is reliable and true? The answer is in our reading. The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. If you're looking for something steady to stand on, a constant foundation, God offers himself. In Exodus 34:6, we read about God announcing his name to Moses. This is one of my favorite scriptures. He comes down and he speaks to a human, which doesn't happen a lot before Jesus. But he comes down and he speaks to Moses. And he passes him by and he says this. He announces himself, the Lord, compassionate and gracious God, slow to anger, abounding in love and faithfulness. It's like one of those icebreaker games where you're supposed to list 3 of your qualities. God picks 7. He says, I am the Lord. I'm compassionate, gracious, slow anger, love, and faithful. And I want to hinge on that last word today because it's in our reading. Great is your faithfulness. Now, if we took a moment to define what faithfulness is, we'd probably say things like loyal and unwavering. But actually, in Hebrew, the word is emet, and it means a more holistic, a more grounded experience. It means reliability. It means stability, consistency, trustworthiness. Great is your trustworthiness, Lord. Abounding in love you are, and trustworthiness. See, God is trustworthy, and he alone is faithful. Let me give you some more biblical points of reference where this word is used. So, Abraham, a hero of our faith, he is the first to consider that God would be faithful, trustworthy. But his wife, Sarah, laughs at what God has asked them to do. Moses, another hero of the faith, his arms were raised in battle as a sign of intercession and a sign that God was with them, but his arms grew weak, and they had to be supported to remain emet, to remain steady and secure in battle. King David is described as walking with emet in faithfulness with God. He was every day taking steps in that place with God, and yet he committed both adultery and murder. God invites Israel into a covenant relationship, into a promise where he says, I will be with you. I will go before you. I will give you great things. I will defend you. And they go, yeah. And then they see the giants and go, who are you? Who did you say you are? They totally forgot who they were trusting in. See, throughout biblical history, God has remained faithful. He is unfailing. We are the ones who give up. We are the ones who run away when it gets hard, or when it doesn't quite look like we thought it would. We are the ones who lose trust in him. It's not the other way around. And this is the context of Lamentations. For those of you who are not familiar with the book, it's actually not really that uplifting. It says, our verses say, the steadfast love of the Lord never ceases, but when you read the book of Lamentations, it's a book of woe. It's passionate expressions of grief and sorrow. Consider a verse from the beginning. Lamentations 1:16 says this, "This is why I weep and my eyes overflow with tears. No one is near to comfort me. No one is here to restore my spirit. My children are destitute because evil has prevailed." Doesn't get any better. By the end of the book, the author says, "Restore us to yourself, Lord, that we may return. Renew our days of old, unless you have utterly rejected us and are angry with us beyond measure." The context in which this was written is the complete and utter devastation of Jerusalem, the holy city, and the subsequent exile of all of the Israelite people to Babylon. Now, it's impossible to share this message today and talk about the nation of Israel without stopping for a moment to recognize the devastation in Gaza, Iran, and the pain in Israel itself. There's a lot going on that we need to make ourselves aware of and that we can pray for as Christians. But we need to put it into context. Israel is still waiting for the Messiah. They aren't living from a place of having received and experienced the grace and mercy given to us through Jesus. See, we no longer have to put our faith in being the chosen people of God, in the nation. We just put our faith in Jesus. But this text was written at a time where Jerusalem, where the Israelite people had everything stripped from them, everything that they had pursued and been promised for 400 years of slavery, 40 years of wandering in the desert. Every time they faced a giant, this was where they were going, to this goal, to this promised place, to the land of milk and honey, to safety. And they had been removed. Not just physically, but for them it was spiritually too. From their spiritual home, their safest place. And it's easy to see God as the villain in this. You might ask, but how in the world does that prove that God is faithful? The downfall in the kingdoms of Israel and Judah was not because of God's unfaithfulness, but it was the result of hundreds of years of Israel's unfaithfulness. Do you remember how God defined himself? He said, slow to anger. He didn't just rip them out after one indiscretion. He spent hundreds of years waiting, loving, drawing in, giving them hope, reminding them of who he was. They were sent into exile because generation after generation, they withdrew their trust from God and they built their lives on something else that just faded away in an instant. I'm going to suggest that God's judgment proves his faithfulness. When I started university, I met one of the most free-spirited people I've ever known. She was so cool. She'd just walk in and be like, oh, I'm here, I care about nothing. And I was like, wow, you're amazing. And we got to chatting about lots of different things, and we started to talk about our upbringings. And I am the daughter of a police officer. So I was taught how to behave, when to speak, and there were consequences for anything outside of those actions. I lovingly tell the story. I mean, don't get me wrong. My parents love me. I have a lot of love and respect for them, but there were rules and boundaries. And my mum, this is my favorite thing in the world, she doesn't negotiate. So when I was going out to a party when I was about 16, I said, Mum, I'm going out to a party. She's like, great, be home at 10. And I was like, 10:30? And she said, 9. And I said, 9:30? And she said, 8:30. Do you want to keep going? And I was like, no, okay, I'll see you in about an hour. Bye, Mum. And I never, ever negotiated again. She said 10, I was home at 10. 5 to 10, actually, because I didn't want to risk it. But I grew up with those kinds of very strong lines, which was hard in lots of ways, but great in other ways. Anyway, I was talking to this very wonderful, free-spirited friend about it, and I was kind of joking about it in the way I am now, and she just went, man, I wish I had that. And I looked at her like, I'm sorry, what? And she said, my parents didn't care. So I knew they loved me, but I was allowed to do anything, go anywhere, with anyone, at any time. I'd say, I'm out. They'd say, see you later. They wouldn't ask any questions. And she said, and that was lovely, and I loved their trust in me, but there was no consequence, no boundary, nowhere safe I could come back to. Whereas if I pushed this, I would go, oh, okay. This is one of the most freeing things I learned as a parent when children are 3, is that they push on a boundary. They do the same thing over and over again, even though you've told them not to. Not because they're trying to annoy you, although it's easy to think that that's the case. It's because they're going, oh, yep, she's still there. Oh, yep, no, she still cares. They push it because they just want to know when they feel safe. Seems absurd in my brain, but since I've had that little mini revelation, I have been way more patient with my children. See, God's judgment proves his faithfulness to us as a loving father, as a creator who cares deeply about our well-being, physically as well as emotionally, and now as well as forever and in eternity. When the boundaries are set, when he says things like, you shall have no other God but me, he's not doing it to boost himself up. He's doing it because that's what we need. Those boundaries are guardrails for our souls. It's a path to walk down so that we exist in the fullness of life and the goodness that he has for us. We can trust God when he says, I will love you forever, because he means it. But also when he says, if you choose anything other than me, you will perish. He means that too. Not because he wants that, but because he's faithful to the goodness. He's faithful to the truth of who he is. Think about it this way. We need accountability. We long for fairness and justice. So often we mourn what we think is unfair suffering and loss. All suffering and loss is mourning. But when it's unfair, this week, globally, people are mourning the death of a man, a husband, a brother, and his brother who just got married. And it's heartbreaking. He's a young guy full of promise, so much of his life ahead. And we want justice for that. We want there to be an answer to that. And Christianity offers us what we so desperately want and need to be true, that there is a consequence for the pain. There's a consequence for the evil and the suffering in this world. At some point, something will happen where all of that bad will get in trouble because we need it to. There's a consequence for all of those who hurt others, who build empires upon injustice, and who stand by and do nothing. What we long for is someone who's prepared to stand up and say, enough. I'll fix this. I will end your pain. I will end your injustice. I will wipe every tear from your eye so that you never have to hurt again. And I will take everything bad that has been done and I will hold it to account. What we're not prepared for is that we are the ones who will be held to account for every action, for every inaction. See, God's judgment on us would be exile, and that is terrifying. What we deserve is exile because we are unfaithful, but what we are offered is grace. When we, humanity, first pulled away from God and we decided in that moment, I don't trust you. I don't trust that your plan is the best way. I want to do it my way. We let sin in. We started to make choices that is about what I think is right, what I can do, what I can control, how I can make things happen, how I can be God and determine the things that I want. Now, God didn't at that moment just pick up and move on, because he could have. At our first indiscretion, I love this line in Pride and Prejudice. Darcy says, "My good opinion once lost is lost forever." I'm like, oh dear, you and I could never be friends, because I would do something silly and offend you, and then if you don't have any grace, then that's it. See you later. What we need is grace. He didn't abandon us to ourselves. He stepped in. He came closer. He revealed himself to those who were seeking him, who were yearning for justice and truth. He never gave up. He promised Noah that he would never again wipe us off the face of the earth. He promised Abraham that his descendants would outnumber the stars. And when the people cried out for a king to rule them, and God was like, I'm here taking care of you. And they're like, no, we want a king. He said, fine, I'll send you one. And his kingdom will never be destroyed. And it's a kingdom of peace, of joy, of righteousness, of love, of gentleness, of self-control. A kingdom built not on fear, on oppression, but on love, service, and sacrifice. And then he went one further. I'm going to give you this kingdom, and then I'm going to give you a piece of me, so that you can experience all those things all the time. And then there's one step further. Oh yeah, and after that season where you're with me and still in this kingdom and it's not completely perfect, I'm going to make a whole new one. And it will always be wonderful. And I will wipe the tear from every eye. How did he do it? He came down from heaven and he took on flesh. And he immersed himself with us. And Jesus, in his greatest act of selfless love, suffered an exile that we deserve. He died on the cross, absorbing all of our pain, our sin, our unfaithfulness, and he declared, it is finished. And 3 days later, he came back offering life, offering eternal peace, joy, righteousness. How? He says, all I need you to do is to trust and believe that what I have done is enough. You don't have to get it right. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to make yourself clean. I just need you to say, yeah, I trust you. See, no one has ever been completely faithful to God. Everybody fails. We all run away. We all take steps back, except Jesus. He suffered the exile so that we don't have to. So now when God looks in judgment on us and he asks me to give an account of every thought and action I've ever done, I won't be able to stand there and say, God, I have always been faithful to you, and God, I have always been kind to every person, and I have always been patient. I can't say those things. But what happens in that moment is that I stand up and God says, all right, Kylie, let's go. Let's talk about everything you've ever done. And I stand there like this. And Jesus goes, oh, wait, she's with me. All those things that she did, yeah, she did them, absolutely. And the punishment for that is death. Okay, great, except I did that. I took her punishment when I died on the cross. I took on all of her sin. So she's with me. Send the next one in. And if I get to go into all of the extended peace and glory and goodness, not because I did anything other than say, yes, Jesus, I trust you. So what do we need to do? We need to say, verse 3:24, we need to say, the Lord is my portion. Therefore, I will hope in him. What we need to do is be a faith-filled people. And he will help us be faithful. That's what the dedications and the baptisms are about today. The families are saying, we know we will fail. We know that there's nothing in this world that will 100% help us or our child. We know that we can't do this, so we are going to trust that Jesus will. Now, trusting anyone is hard, but God has already proven himself faithful. He made the first move. So now it's just up to us to take the risk. And how do we do that? How do we trust and we remain faithful? You get to know God. How do you get to know God? Same as you get to know any person. You talk to them. You spend time with them. That looks like reading a Bible, getting to know Jesus. Start in the Gospels. He's quite a captivating young man. Spend time in worship. Really listen to the words and the songs and sing them. And it might be that you don't quite know what you're singing, and over time it will soften your heart. Prayer. We explain this to the kids. It's just a chat. Hey, God, what's up? My favorite color is blue. What are you doing today? It really doesn't have to be a whole lot more than that. Then tell him what you're scared of. And then read your Bible or spend some time waiting to hear him speak back. And all of that is really lovely, but the next level is obedience. It's doing what it is that God is asking you to do, like be kind and love your neighbor. That's a hard one, but you can always ask him for help. That's what he's there for. You've got to start with the little things. That's how trust grows. If I asked someone in this room right now for £5, can you lend me £5? If you had £5, someone would probably go, yeah, sure. Great, so I'm going to bring that back to you tomorrow, and next week I'll say, can you lend me £10? And you go, yeah, actually, last week you were good with the 5, so I'll give you 10. I say, cool, let's in a month from now, do you have 50? Can I borrow £50? Just for today. I'm going to bring it back to you next week. And you might go, okay, I said, cool, can I borrow your house? Just for a week, I've got family coming and I really need to. And you might go, well, yeah, so far we've got there. You've built up the trust. See, God doesn't go from 0 to 100. I mean, he can, it does happen. But what you need to do is trust him with something. He's waiting for you to trust him with something. And then he will be faithful with that. And then he'll say, trust me a little bit more. My journey to faith was a lot of sitting in rooms like this, but I was at uni at the time, and hearing stories of God, and being like, yeah, okay, I get the point. I'm in trouble if this is real. And I was watching it play out with my friends who were incredible faith-filled people and watching God work in their lives. And I got to this point where I was like, God, I don't know if I believe all of this, but I know enough to think if this is true, then I have to do something about it. So let's try. I'm going to give you a go for a week and just see. Because if it's not true, you'll go away like everything else. But if it's real, I know there's no going back. And I read a story in the Bible, a kid's Bible, because I had no idea what a Bible was, and my friend had a kid's Bible, so I read a kid's Bible. And there's a beautiful story about the woman who's been bleeding for 12 years, and she reaches out to Jesus. She doesn't even ask. She just reaches out to touch the hem of his garment, and she's instantly healed. And Jesus turns to her and he says, take heart, daughter. Your faith has made you well. And that moment was the first time that the Bible ever went straight to my heart. And I felt like God in that moment was saying to me, take heart. That little faith that you bought me that said, if you're real, I'm in, has made you well. And now he's asking me to do all kinds of ridiculous things. Like leave my family and friends and all of my security and come over and love you lot. Which I gladly do, by the way. But faith, being faith-filled, is a gift. It's something that we can ask God for. It's something that he's very happy to give us. So we're going to practice this in just a moment. Prepare yourselves. But I want to just encourage you that when you receive a gift, it's like anything that you receive normally. If you want to gift me an Apple Watch, it's on my Christmas list, by the way, You can. And the first step I have to do is actually take it. You could offer it, and I go, no, I couldn't possibly. No, but I really want to. No, I have to take it off you. But then if I let it sit in my drawer for the rest of forever, it does nothing. And it doesn't honor you as the person who gave me the gift. It will just sit there. I have to do something with it. I have to unbox it. I have to set it up. I have to get it to work before I can enjoy any of the benefits of it. And our faith is just like that. And we can keep on being filled. We don't have to get faith just once. It's a beautiful prayer that God teaches us. It says, give us today our daily bread. That includes your faith. Give me the faith I need for today. For whatever it is I need to get through today. And he doesn't expect us to fake it. Sometimes when we have faith and we have trust, it's really challenging because we have disappointment. There are many things in my life, and I am still waiting. And it is really, really hard. And Maggie, that word you shared this morning was on point for me. So thank you. I am waiting on the promises that God has said, promises he put in my heart 15 years ago, promises that I keep coming back to and saying, God, this looks ridiculous and I'm still walking this path and I cannot see anything. And it's been 15 years, and he says, wait. The last line of our reading, it is good. The Lord is good to those who wait for him, to the soul who seeks him. It is good that one should wait quietly for the salvation of the Lord. I'm not really good at waiting quietly, but I wait. And the quiet is not really about the words I speak. It's about the quiet in my heart. It's about the unrest that happens when I start to panic, when I start to worry, when I start to think, God, you're going to fail. It's not going to happen. You're not going to be there. I'm going to fall backwards and I'm going to hurt myself again. And he says, it's good to wait on me. I am working all things together for your good. And then I go back to all the stuff he's already done and the testimonies of other, and it strengthens me, and I pray for faith, and I take one more day waiting. I'm going to invite us all to stand now. We're going to wait on the Spirit. So if you're able to, join us and stand up. If you've not done this before, it feels a little weird, I'm going to be honest. But if you want to close your eyes, it's just simply a way of saying that you're open to God. And the closing of the eyes just stops us from being distracted and wondering if everyone's looking at us. I can guarantee you no one's looking around. And just hold out your hands if you want, like you're going to receive a gift, like you're expecting something from God. Just open your heart to him. And I'm just going to invite the Holy Spirit to be at work. You're doing really well. We're going to wait just a minute more. In a moment, I'm going to invite you to come up the front if you would like us to pray with you. We love just standing with what God is already doing. But before I do that, there's a lot in here I spoke about trusting God. And if you're interested in doing that today, maybe the first time that you feel like, you know what, God, I have the smallest seed of faith that I want to give you right now. Can I just invite you to put up your hand? Not for anybody's benefit other than you responding to what God is doing in your life, in your heart. You'll know it's you because your heart will be racing. or your mind will be thinking a million things and all of the reasons that it's not possible. But can I just encourage you to take the risk? And as I invite the team up for ministry, I invite you just to come forward, push yourselves out of your rows. If it's a little bit awkward, but you can come up and receive prayer at the front here. There are a couple of people that I feel like God really wants to meet with today. One of them is if you need faith. If you need faith for whatever it is God's asking you, of what you're facing, of what is to come, please come forward and let us pray for you. A member of the team will simply just stand with you, lay a hand on your shoulder, and bless what it is God is doing. And for others, it might just be that first step forward. That step that says, I'm going to trust you with something. If there's something you need to lay at the cross today and invite God to trust in, please come and bring that this morning. Or for healing, you guys can come forward now. The ministry team as well, come forward. Just come, pop your hands out. I know it's a bit tricky. Feel free to push gently past people. We're used to this. Just come and stand. Multiple people will pray for you as well. So when you receive prayer from one person, just stay where you are and receive from another.